The most important time for development is from birth to 5 years old, and there's all the steps that is needed for the baby to or the child to develop from birth to 5 years is because you have in every period of development from one to birth to 1 year, you have a growth spurt, and then between 1 year and 2 years, you have a growth spurt, and then you have another growth spurt between 2 and 4 years, and then at 5, a baby or a child can learn the most that he can ever learn academically in his life. The child's brain is geared to develop, and they use all the senses for development. And that's why it's so important for the child to be in an environment where they can have enough stimulation of all the senses so that they can build one upon the other and use that for development. And that's why it's so important. It's all sensory in the beginning. And you have to have that building, that makes the building blocks of development possible.
So my dad was a social worker, and he was in this, and he was a social worker for there were 16 houses. It was a Methodist children's village. And there were 16 houses with 8 boys in each one, and each one had a house mother. And my dad was sort of the token man for all those boys. And so on my school days off, when I had to, whatever, I would go with my dad, and I could play with the boys. And so one day we were in the gym, and I'm probably 7 years old, and we're playing dodgeball. And I say, Dad, throw the ball to me, Dad. And the room goes completely, every boy in that room stopped. And they walked up to my dad and they said, Dad, Mr. Sutherland, you have a boy? And my dad goes, yes. This is your boy? Yes. Take me. I could be your boy too. Adopt me. I won't eat much. I'll sleep next to the furnace. You can put me in the basement next to the furnace to sleep. So that was the first time that I realized that some children don't have a mama or a dad or an uncle or an aunt or a grandma that's kissing them goodnight and saying, I love you. And think about that as a 7-year-old, that the influence that would have. The story of STEPi, I think, goes back a long time, but we were doing a lot of literacy work in Uganda and other parts of Eastern Africa. And we decided that because we were writing books, that rather than calling them Utopia Foundation books or by Paul Sutherland, I thought, what are we really trying to do? And what we're really trying to do is square the education pyramid through literacy, because children need to learn how to read. And what we see especially in the developing world is they make children afraid of books by, first of all, having them be very scarce, or giving them books that are really poorly written and poor quality. There's sort of a pyramid. You think of all these children at the bottom of the pyramid that are, that are young. And as the pyramid gets higher, more and more of those kids sort of fall off that world of opportunity. And so when you get to age 18, oh, this child's really smart, let's let them go to university, or let's even give them scholarships. And we put all this money on them, not realize the millions and millions of children that never even get there. My brain's very wired to all this, and it loves that economic stuff. But it doesn't help the world any. Probably the finances are really causing very significant pain in the world. I mean, because it's really concentrating wealth. People that tend to be very good at finance, often their heart's not that developed, and so they come from a very rational point of view, and life is not rational. We live in the world of love, and empathy is where the real world is. I was a global investment manager for my career. I managed hundreds of millions of dollars and for people all over the world, thinking I could change the world by having people be ethical investors, but I realized that it's not. What's going to change the world is children.
I get to do a lot of work with communities. Being with STEPi has then afforded me a chance to impact more communities, rather than like doing it when I was by myself and I was doing it at a smaller capacity. So with STEPi, we're able to, travel in nationwide. So that's what, we want to touch as many children as possible. I think the word that they use a lot these days is called trauma. We don't want to raise children that have traumas. We want to raise children that are happy, and children that have values also, that would be big on that on STEPi. Children that can have empathy and be able to live with one another.
I've got 4 daughters at home, 4 of them. So you can imagine how the house is. And 2 of them are adopted, who we love very much. We don't even use that word, actually. It's actually forbidden at home because they're family. We see them as blood. There's no difference between my biological kids and them. And yeah, it's been a very topsy-turvy relationship with them in terms of how the relationship started, in terms of where we found them to where we are today. It's been a journey of love. It's been a journey of compassion. It's been a journey of just being a dad. It's every day is a teachable moment. I think when we always say, if you get relationships right, you get life right, because it's always been about sharing love, teaching with love, whether it's out in the streets or at home. So there's always that synergy. Meeting Pumeza as well, it was just, okay, we're doing this, right? We just roll with it every time. When we see children, it's just high fives. So it's always been about connecting relationships, and from day one, I always felt like I was at home. Getting lost is not that bad, because when you get lost, that's when you find yourself. On the south of Jozi, Johannesburg, and we're heading to Pumlamkashi. And this is a formal, which is now becoming not so formal anymore in settlement, right opposite Lenasia. And yeah, that's where we're heading to now. It's Little Jerusalem, and it's one of the ECDs that we work with. And then we get called upon to then head to those ECDs, schools as well, organizations, and do programs which is like literacy activities, and then teaching with love. That happens more on a bigger scale, where we have a road trip every quarter. Good in yourself? How are you feeling?
I'm so tired. I know, right? I know.
But we always do in our road trips, right?
Yeah.
Even when we're down,
Yeah.
we do what we have to do. Let me get.
I brought 2 books.
Which ones? What titles?
I brought approach when you slow down because of the whole. Like I was thinking, we can do.
Oh, okay. Ah, I'm the mountain.
Are you
Okay.
gonna do that? I'll straight for you now, right, Johnny?
Live.
We have a program to support parents. It's called Parenting with Love, and this is a workshop that we have with parents. It's more like a dialogue because we don't want to tell parents what to do. So we just have discussions with parents on the better ways. We have a beautiful book that has all those titles that speak to raising children in a way that's going to boost their emotions, their feelings, that's going to build that connection between parent and child.
Ngina 5 years ngisebenza ne-step in. So i-step in singincede kakhulu ukuthi abantwana bethu baye esikolweni seba-right, sebakwazi ukufunda iy'ncwadi basifundela bona bodwa. Yes, that is why ngithanda i-step in, and ngiyathanda ukuthi i-step in ngiqhubeke naso, ningangiyeki i-step in, nibe nani always.
We officially registered 2 years ago in South Africa, so not a lot of people really know who STEPi is and what we do. So it's always about getting credibility, getting trust when reaching out and showing potential donors and funders what we're all about. But I think we're getting there. Relationships that we're building, we're gaining momentum, we're traveling. For us, essentially, it's about the work that we do, and then the people will see it. But I think by just doing our work, that will be enough in gaining momentum and traction with potential funders and donors and stakeholders as well.
You also have to think about what's the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is to make it so that every child can be successful in life. So they can be happy, so they can get a job, so they have the skills to get a job. And that's what society tends to concentrate on, is just like skills. But we have to think, what really are the causes of success? First of all, the first thing is, do they believe in themselves? And we always say, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. And so the first book we wrote was called Amani, and basically was about a girl that really persevered, and she said, I can do this. And that helps develop character, because the children need to think that they can do that. And what they get is a lot of messages from parents and everybody else. No, you can't do that. No, you can't do that. And they don't see a lot of readers in their lives. They don't see a lot of people with sort of an education orientation. And so to motivate people, we said, well, let's call it Squaring the Education Pyramid Institute, which allows people everybody, when they get to the age 18 or 20 or 25, that they can enter that world where they feel capable to do whatever they want to be, to be whatever they want to be.
There's a poem by Mzokimbuli. It's in Zulu. It goes, ukonakala kwengqondo, ukonakala komuntu, ukonakala komuntu, ukonakala komndeni, ukonakala komndeni, ukonakala komphakathi, ukonakala komphakathi, ukonakala kwesizwe, ukonakala kwesizwe, ukonakala kwelizwe. Basically, the poem just talks about how if we don't get things right with just one person, it can then have an impact. It can affect the whole world.
That we do this is with Squaring the Education Pyramid Institute, and then our beliefs are built on the idea that relationships matter. And those relationships are built with communication. And so really to change consciousness so that these teachers can learn to come from a place of love, we have to demonstrate that. Life's about relationships. You get relationships right, and you get life right. But we chase all of this stuff. What we need to chase is, how can I be really good at relationships? And that's what we need to teach children, how to be great at relationships. Because what's life about?
Meaning, right? Meaning and mattering. And children need to matter. That's the most important thing, that they matter. And that's why this is so important. That is what life is about. It is about being in relationship. And so if you get relationships right, you get life right. The little children are going to see that, aren't they? And they say, oh, my teacher has goals. My goal is to be the best teacher I can be. Teacher, what goal do you think I should have? I don't know, you're a happy boy, and maybe you could be the happiest boy in the class. Letting them make all those little decisions, and that's building strength in their brain, because it needs to start there. Those are seeds that you're planting. And the analogy I use a tree. I say, okay, you have 2 trees, and you plant one tree, and you give it lots of nourishment, and you give it lots of care. You make sure it gets enough sun, you make sure it gets enough water, you make sure it gets enough fertilizer, and you let it grow for 5 years with all the nutrients and everything it would need. And then take another tree and you just stick it in the ground. You barely take care of it all, whatever naturally happens. And this tree is going to be like this, and this tree is going to be like this. And then I say, okay, yeah, but this one got the tough love, it's because life is tough. But which one's going to have the deeper roots? And if the winds come or we have a drought, which one's going to be able to survive? The one with the deep roots and all of that.
STEPi, they've actually helped us to meet our vision as a school of improving literacy in the school. And one of our goals in 2025 and 2026 was that we improve literacy through presentation, through writing, and through reading. So remember, we're a triangle here. It's supposed to be the parents and the teachers together working towards building and grooming the child. But most of the time it looks like it becomes the teacher on one side, the learners and the parents together, and the department against the teacher. The very same teacher was trying his or her best to make a change. The parents are not there to support. Let me take the issue of reading, for instance, which is an issue all over the country, that kids cannot read with meaning. We have this particular child. This child, from foundation phase, she was one of the struggling learners in terms of reading and writing. Hence, she was attending the learner support class. We've got an extra class that helps learners that are struggling. That particular learner, after joining the club, the reading club with STEPi, she started reading, and she is one of our authors now because she actually wrote a book after the motivation she got from being part of the reading club that STEPi introduced. What is even amazing with STEPi is that the Pumeza, who is actually the lady who has been coming to the school, she will come even over the weekends, using her time, using her resources to come and meet these kids. She will talk to their parents and she will meet them over the weekends and do these clubs and do. So these kids, they actually motivate other kids. You cannot teach kids the love for books when you yourself, as a teacher, you do not have love for books. The same thing with the parents, if they don't have the love for books.
The one thing that happens when a Parenting with Love seminar, parents come very reluctantly, but then, once they say, oh, this is really interesting stuff, wow, this really applies to me, it's relevant to me, then they open up and they ask some really great questions. And I think we've had some impact,
I love working with STEPi because one of the things that they help us do as Global Teachers Institute is to look at the gaps that is existing in the schools, and they will provide training and a program for our student teachers, but also for the teachers in the school to bridge those gaps. One of the things that we've noticed in the work that we do is that the parents are sometimes absent. And even if they are present, they don't have the tools to help their children navigate this world. And STEPi helps us to bridge that gap. Working with STEPi, for example, at Ikache, a school that we work in in Alexander, they have been able to provide training for our foundation phase students, but also the teachers, on how to teach with love. When they lead the program, they get the theory from UNISA, and then they get the practice with Global Teachers Institute. I had the opportunity to read books. I had the opportunity to gain experience from other parents like me that were in my position. And that has helped me be, I think, a really cool parent. And I have done a good job with my own children. I do think that a lot of people don't have that opportunity. They don't talk about parenting. They don't talk about these things that they can't do well. But with Parenting with Love, it allows people to interact with each other. It allows them to be vulnerable and say, "Ish, I'm not getting this right. Please help me. Please give me a tool." Yeah? And with Parenting with Love, they have these tools. How awesome would it be if more people in South Africa had these tools? And I think that's why I love working with STEPi. They have given this opportunity to so many parents that usually don't even know that these things are out there for them. Our students are studying to become teachers. And when they work with STEPi, they are given another string to their bow. So instead of, if they didn't have STEPi, they would learn everything that GTI has to teach them and has to offer them on the work that we do. Once our students graduate, we've got to make sure that we can get them jobs, right? Absorption is really important. There's no point in having a 4-year degree. You spend so much time, you've got all this lovely experience, and you can't get a job. With Teach with Love, what happens then is that they've got another string to their bow. They can say, we've learned a whole lot from Global Teachers Institute. And in addition to this, we've learned so many other ways of dealing with children, ways of dealing with parents. And this makes them more absorbable. This allows them to get a job quicker. And that's what we want for our students, right? We want to make sure that they get jobs at the end of a degree. In order to make a difference in this country, you cannot have a little program here and a little program there and a little initiative here and a little initiative there. Our communities work as an ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, there are so many different players. So we have to all work together to influence this entire ecosystem. If you miss out one stakeholder, that could destroy the entire community. And I think that's why GTI and STEPi can really help to grow an entire community. Teachers can either make or break a child. And we are trying to make sure that every teacher that comes through Global Teachers Institute will never ever break a child. And one of the ways we can do that is by working with STEPi. I mean, teach with love. The name says it all, doesn't it?
I had a number of book clubs that I was running for children. I realized that children were not reading. You would actually find them loitering around here in the park and looking bored. And with my daughter having lots of literacy stuff, I started inviting them, and they would come into the balcony and I would read with them. And then that's when the need for a book club actually started. We decided to move into a bigger space down the road. We started the first book club, and then we extended to Eastern Cape as well, which is where I'm from. Then got to meet what STEPi through an organization called HRT. They were donating the books for us, and then they wanted to know more about what I was doing, and we started working more and more. As soon as STEPi came to South Africa, it made sense for me to join the team and then do more STEPi work and go into as many communities as possible.
So Sissy, I brought this, ne? These are all the copies of STEPi books. Some of them, Lou, you have read them. Some you have not. And I think it's so heavy, so that it's more than one copy. You're more than welcome to share them amongst yourselves, or you can borrow.
Impact I've seen in teachers after or even during the Teaching with Love workshop. A teacher during the workshop, we're still in the middle of the workshop when she started sharing her story. The teacher shared that, and she was one of the teachers in the workshop that I was thinking that she's not even here. But when she shared that, as we were doing that, a video started playing in her head, of all the children who she said the negative things to. She was thinking of were children that ended up not being so successful in life. And now she was saying she couldn't help but realize that she might have had an impact on how they have turned up. And that gave me hope that this is someone who obviously is going to do better going forward. And I saw the impact of the workshop right there and there.
People tend to look at the pictures than look at the writing. That confuses them. Then by looking at the pictures, you understand better before you get to the writing. Then STEPi, by using creative pictures and colorful pictures, it makes it easy for kids to be interested and to come out and say, okay, I can see the action on this one, but let me go to reading and understand it better, what is happening. Then that's how they help the kids.
They came to our school and they donated books, and Teacher Pierre interacted, read, did some storytelling with the kids, asked questions. And because of most of our learners, they're taught in their mother tongue, and somehow she had to use code. She had to code switch and explain to the learners. And it got so interesting, like the learners could easily come out and express themselves, how they feel about the books. And they were so happy to have their own book carrying home, like to read whenever they've got time at home. But when it comes to storytelling, we normally use the STEPi one. Then it's easy because of pictures are very colorful and very interactive. It's not a lot to read, and kids, especially for my grade 1 class, it's easy for them to familiarize themselves with the language. Maybe it's only a sentence that they can go through a day and whatsoever. They mean they master that, then they enjoy the book. And they look at the coloring, and the colors are so bright, and it's easy to interact. Then they can talk about it, whether they like the character or not. Then it's easy. I use it a lot in my class.
Delivering 3,000 copies of Do You Like Grasshoppers and Chapati.
And do they just dump them here, or do we have to? Are they going to help us with them?
I know, we have to pack them out. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Lucia is the kid who has enjoyed our books and has read most of them, and also forwarded them to her cousins. She actually came with a rule in our family, and they are a big family, that for December presents, everyone gets a book.
Oh, that's a good
no
idea.
more, yeah, no more fancy stuff, but books. And
Has it worked? Has the family endorsed that or
it
embraced
has.
it? Ah,
It has, as it
That's
has,
good.
because also it has encouraged them to write. So she
Wow.
has two older sisters, and all of them have manuscripts. They just ready to publish books because of their love for reading.
The reason why I joined book club was because I was very passionate about reading. It's just something I fell into at first. I became very passionate about it. I started to really enjoy it, and I think it really helped me. It helped me understand people better and learn how to communicate better and just socialize better in general. I think my experience with Teacher P and how she helped me grow my love for reading is because she was so expressive. She'd change her voice sometimes when she's playing this character. And I really liked how she'd personify the characters and give them their own special traits, voices, and personalities.
The fun thing about Lucy is that I met her when she was still in grade 1, and she was really struggling to read. So we went through that process, where I was teaching her and being patient with her, and
Teaching her to fall in love with books and
yeah,
stories.
and she sure did. She sure did.
Wow.
She's now in high school and quite a smart person and reads a lot still.
She was like you. She had somebody that helped her fall in love with books. You had an aunt
Yeah.
that really got you excited about books. And
Yeah.
then you were the auntie to her that made it so that she...
Except I wasn't a strict auntie.
So love kind of is the main motivator of everything, is that pulls us to work and to experience life in all of its variety. And so I know that's a really existential, philosophical, metaphysical answer to the question, but I think for everybody, they have to say, okay, loving other people, loving the world looks like this.
Me being a single parent was actually a blessing because I got to have my child to myself all the time. It was a blessing to me. You have to do everything, you're not going to share school fees with anyone, so you can't buy that, dream car, or you can't buy that, dream home, because all the expenses, but that's also even something that I really don't care much about. So I mean, I'm not a perfect parent, but I think STEPi, helps me to always be aware of my actions. I think, for an example, ever since STEPi has come into my life, into our lives, there's more communication. It's a learning process. No one is to be perfect, and I've realized that with my daughter as well. I do use the stuff that we share with programs. Most of the stuff that we talk about in the programs with my daughter, we'll go through. For instance, there's a card that we call a virtue card, and that's something that we recently did, where we just go through virtue cards. They are good at describing your I am, and I will actually share it with her, and we go through it and ask her to identify virtues that she sees of hers, that she sees in herself, or virtues that she sees in me. And then that becomes a point of discussion, and also it helps me to see how I'm doing with her. I've also gotten to learn to talk with her and have discussions with her and be able to manage my emotions. It's not an easy thing if you're a parent, because you have a set view of how you want your child to be, but there also, you have to understand that they are individuals themselves. So you also have to have a space to allow them to be who they are, or who they are meant to be.
Love has no boundaries. Love has no measures. Love is equality. That's how I see love. Yeah.
It's like a strong emotion where you'd be willing to do something for someone
or they're just always on your mind?
But I think love means seeing a child as a human. Love means getting them to be the person that you know they can be, and they know they can be.
But we want you to have fun, yeah? Are you guys cool? Make it your duty to make them happy, okay? So between all the material that we are giving you guys, there's nothing stopping you from being the best human being ever, okay? We all need to be the best versions of ourselves, okay? So you're gonna get this book on your way out, and thank you so much.
As they come through to your class, just hug them, give them sweetie when they perform well, even a star. Because sometimes it's for the first time they get to receive that. Now, the minute you show them love, they know, it's nice to be in that class. They would even come back after years. Leaving the school, they will say, there was this teacher who did this to me. That's how you express yourself. Because you don't have to, it's not about memorization in teaching. It's all about sharing the love, the kindness that we have. And the minute they achieve, then that's when we get rewarded in life.
Nurture and support the person that you are working with. So as a leader and a teacher, being able to plant the seed of knowledge to my children and see results, to me, it's a fulfillment. I've done the job that I'm here to do.
And the story says, once upon a time in Eastern Cape.
At the end of every workshop, we tell a story, the Starfish story, where there's this little girl who is walking at the coast, at the seashore.
And there was a little girl, a little boy, and they were taking the starfishes and they were throwing them in the ocean so they didn't dry up and die. And this man walked up to this little girl and said to the little girl, what are you doing? And she said,
I'm picking up all these starfish and I'm throwing them back to the sea because if I leave them here, they are going to die. And then this old man said,
you're not going to make any difference because there's starfish for thousands of starfish that way and there's thousands of starfish and kilometers of starfish that way on the beach. And the little girl looked at the starfish and she goes, it's going to make a difference to this one.
So I think that is basically what we do at STEPi. One person at a time, making a difference, giving them the opportunity to make something of their lives, to become a contributing member to society. So that's the impact we'll get. I'm not going to promise that we'll change the world, but we'll at least change one person at a time, one child at a time.
I think what I take out of the Starfish story as well is that, like, no matter how small what you do, it still has significance. So, like, you have to keep pushing on.
Let's show up for that one person. Are we gonna do that?
It's yours?
Are we gonna do that?
you?
Are we gonna show up for at least one person
It's for
in our
you.
lives? If they need help, we help them.
Yes.
We don't just look the other way. If they need help, we do what? Help them. Well done. Thank you, Melissa.
And I think with all parents, I think we all feel a little bit, or a lot, very insecure. You know, you've got this little beautiful thing that you're in love with, and they're growing, and so am I doing it right, and all this kind of stuff. And so I think that one thing that I think been helpful is first of all making people feel a little bit less insecure. Nobody's perfect, you just do the best you can, and the kids tend to turn out okay as long as you do the best you can. I mean, it's pretty hard to, in some ways, to really mess them up.
My family has got me. Even coming home tired, Mom tells me stories. I learned big words like responsibility. I learned about Gogo's grandmother and Badu's village, about his auntie's special cooking. Our neighbor, she cares. She sat me on her lap and reads to me. She reads me books and can labels. Old newspapers, anything.
And but what is interesting, the feedback we get is a lot of people have said this really changed things. We tell people that you have the keys to the kingdom of the world that you want for yourself are yours. At this moment, what are you going to do about it? And that's kind of the main message of us is if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right, dude. Okay.